Hey guys, this is really good. It's really going on, man. And you and you imagine that this guy Tim Walz going to Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota is going to be the vice president. What did they expect? Come on, man. This is a sham. This was a sham all along. And I hope she don't try to go for Kamala Harris. Don't try to go for president in 2028 because she got a lot of questions to answer. You know, she has a lot of things that you didn't bet this guy. If you bet this guy his executiveship over the state of Minnesota, you were research and saw this. You had to see something. And so you either didn't vet him or nothing. You just was going to carry him along like the Biden picked you to select you because you was a black woman. That he said it. So this is going to be a continuation of the Biden administration in 2028. In 20, what's going on, man? So hey, he's making you look bad. He's making Kamala Harris. I hope she don't go for the 2028 because I got a bunch of questions as an American citizen. I got a bunch of questions to ask. What about you guys? Let's continue moving on with this. Find out what's happening. And this back to Minnesota, guys. Back to this fraud.
And welcome back, everybody. FBI Director Kash Patel responding to a viral video that has raised even more concerns about Minnesota's massive fraud scandal. The video showing misspelled signs, locked doors, empty classrooms even at a Minneapolis daycare center. Now, the state allegedly has also given the center millions in funding. Connor Hansen, live in New York City with the latest on that for us. Hey, Connor.
Hi, Kevin. Well, for years now, there have been allegations of widespread fraud and investigations in Minnesota, but now there's even more scrutiny following a new video that's gone viral coming from an independent journalist visiting daycare centers in the state that are receiving millions, apparently, in tax dollars with no signs of children there. Take a look.
Can I put my son in a daycare here?
No, I don't know.
Can I speak to someone?
No, I don't know.
No? Yeah, I would like to see if I can put my son Joey here.
Now, 23-year-old journalist Nick Shirley visited one business that couldn't even spell its name correctly with a sign saying Leering Center instead of Learning. Some had blacked out windows and most had no signs of children there on a weekday. The viral video sparking a strong reaction from Vice President J.D. Vance, who wrote, "Politicians like it because they get power, welfare cheats like it because they get rich, but it's a zero-sum game and they're stealing both money and political power from Minnesotans." Earlier this month, Minnesota's assistant U.S. attorney said fraud involving Medicaid services likely reached more than $9 billion.
Fraud is not small. It isn't isolated. The magnitude cannot be overstated. It's a staggering industrial scale fraud.
FBI Director Kash Patel just posted on X saying that might just be the tip of the iceberg. Despite mounting criticism aimed at him from the White House and others, Governor Tim Walz has blamed Republicans for the lack of a solution.
Nobody in the legislature on the Republican side is interested in solving this. My God, it would be the worst thing in the world for them if this is solved like we're doing it here early this year, because then what are they going to run on?
And we've reached out to Governor Walz for comment on that video. No response so far. Kash Patel also warning that possible denaturalization and deportation proceedings could come from this. Kevin?
Connor Hansen for us in New York. Connor, thank you so much. Let's now bring in Corbin Trent. Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez is former comms director and former Bernie Sanders campaign strategist, and Mark Bednar, Congressman Kevin McCarthy's former head of comms and former comms director for Sean Duffy. Great to have you both with us. I guess I should probably begin with you, Corbin. Listen, this is one of those situations where there's no easy answer except for the obvious answer. What happens now? And if you're the Democrats, not just in Minnesota, but all over the nation, how problematic might this get?
I mean, I think fraud is fraud, and if you commit fraud against the government or anybody, you go to jail. I think that's what happens next, hopefully, and it seems like that's what's going to be happening next. I don't think this is a Democrat or Republican problem, though. This is a widespread problem of fraud and abuse. And largely it's something that exists in the private sector. You know, the government writes the checks, and then the private sector sort of uses the money in any way they feel comfortable doing. And, taxpayers are left with a bill. You look at healthcare, for example. We spent $5.4 trillion last year alone on healthcare. I mean, try finding a YouTuber that can go out and find out how United Healthcare is wasting our money. It's not something that's going to be easy. So I think, this is a case of the system sort of functioning, the fourth estate, which is a YouTuber with a channel out there finding some fraud and bringing it to light. I think that's great. But, this is something that's in the trillions of dollars. We're wasting money in every sector, whether it's housing, healthcare, education, and we got to get, it's got to be taken under control. I think fraud's fraud that needs to be found and dealt with.
I think fraud is actually the right answer. However, Mark, I think there is still a political angle here. And the reason I suggest that is because Tim Walz, the governor of the state of Minnesota, has a responsibility to safeguard the resources of his fellow Minnesotans, to say nothing of the fact that the federal money was also involved in this circumstance. And it seems to be that they were also sort of sending money off to, I saw a bunch of donations for Act Blue. I mean, who knows if there is a bigger nexus here? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Kevin, the indictment across an array of entities here. First of all, the media for not even remotely pretending to care about this being an issue. Secondly, Governor Walz with his stewardship of the state. But thirdly, and I think most importantly, and with the furthest extension into the future, this really is an indictment against Kamala Harris's political judgment. Vetting somebody for the vice presidency, that's a big job. You need to be really thorough. So did they actually vet Tim Walz's stewardship of the state of Minnesota? What did they find? Or did they not care at all? Should she run for president again? She's going to have to explain to voters, donors, the media about her judgment and why she's incapable of, choosing someone who's not overseeing something as horrible as what's going on right here, right now.
Corbin, I give you credit.
But I mean, this is something though where, from my understanding, Tim Walz tried to stop payments to a lot of these facilities, and then they were sued by the facilities. They went to court, and the court compelled them to pay them. I mean, we're making this into a political football, like we do every single thing that's happening. And the problem is that this is a system-wide problem. It doesn't matter if it's the Democrats, Republicans, it's corporations, it's private entities that are coming out there that are taking money out of our pockets, taking money out of our grandkids' pockets, and then running off to the bank with it. This is not like a Somali immigrant problem. This is a problem with our system.
Well, I think you could certainly argue, given that this is primarily happening in one community in particular at a fairly large scale, that obviously bears investigating. But I think the broader question becomes, at what point does the buck stop with the governor of the state of Minnesota? And that's what I would ask you, Mark, and then Corbin, you can wrap us up.
Well, that's why, first of all, it's a great reminder why it was so important for President Trump and Vice President Vance to win, lest you have Tim Walz actually number 2 in line for the presidency in office right now. Yeah. But this is why it's really important for Republicans to actually make the argument that they should be able to control and expand their majority. Speaker Johnson, leader Whip Emmer, and congressional investigators, they should do a press event outside of the Leering Center in Minnesota today. Not only to nationalize the issue, but also make Democrats have to actually answer for what is going on here, make them answer for what they've been defending all along.
The Leering Center, a reference to the fact that the letter N was missing from the signage out in front of one of these daycare centers, which apparently didn't have any kids in at the time of the video. Corbin, 15 seconds.
I will agree with the FBI director on this. This is the tip of the iceberg. Last year alone, Nancy Pelosi's stock portfolio went up by 54%. The market was, I think, 25%, so she outperformed by double. This year, in a few months, the president of the United States has more than doubled his net worth. There is absolutely corruption that goes down to the core of our government, that goes down to the core of our private industries, and we need to root it out. But what we need are representatives in our government, in our state governments, in our federal government that are willing to do the hard work to piss the people off to get it done. Right. And so far, that's what we're lacking.
Somebody's going to have to pay for this, and I don't mean just financially. Somebody has to be prosecuted and arrested and sent off to jail if you've been stealing billions of dollars from the American taxpayer, and it's happening in particular communities, not just in Minnesota, by the way, but also in Ohio and Maine and other places, Washington State.
California.
It's going to, yeah, absolutely. It's going to bear, I think, a much, much closer examination. We'll see where this all goes. I did read what Kash
Maybe
Patel
they
said
should just
earlier.
be
Yeah, I got to say something on that. React to this part. Yeah, you know, you got to hold. You can't. He's the highest executive officer in the state of Minnesota. He has to know the buck hard stops right at his office. And they have had whistleblowers. No one talked about the whistleblowers. No one mentioned the whistleblower. We talk about, then they tend to download social media influencer, a YouTuber, that went over there and had investigators that had documentation that could be proven and legitimate in court if they would go through the documentation. So this is not just a YouTuber. See, but this is a guy that's leaning towards one side, one political ideology, because he's trying to lessen the reality of $8-9 billion have been stolen, billies, not m's, not millions, billies, and it's going up past that. They said 1 billion, then went to 8 billion, then it's up to 9 billion, and they said that's not the end. And now, like this, the news anchor here has been stating that it's really all over. So many say Ohio, Oregon, California, Washington State. We got to do a major investigation of all these states, especially these blue states, and find out what's going on. Because this is not, it doesn't stop right here. Like they was mentioned, it's an iceberg. It's the tip of the iceberg. Where do all this stuff go? This isolated funding being used and been relegated to different sectors that doesn't reach the public. Our tax dollars doesn't reach to the people, but is used in different private sectors. So this is a perfect example. So what should we do? As he said, I think we should, as a citizen, I think we should go look at all these states. Look at every state, red and blue states, and have one turn in the paperwork. If not, have independent boards, bipartisan boards, go look at these records. Just pure records, not no political. But you can see how everything's always political driven. You can see these two guys. You got one, you can hear he's pro Republican, and you had the other guy that's being more subdued, but also leaning more towards his communication styles leaning more towards supportive of the Democrats. Then you have a news affiliate here that's trying to be nonpartisan and just look at the fraud and waste. So you can see the variance in this panel. And you got to understand, we got to investigate all of this. What is your opinion? What do you think? Leave a message, comment down below. Like the channel, turn on notifications. I would like to hear from you guys. This is a reaction video. Let's finish it out.
government-run healthcare centers instead of private.
Yeah, I don't know about that either. Corbin and Mark, thank you both for your time today. I appreciate that.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe to the
Yeah, so this was a good one. What is your opinion? I'm going to put this up. What is your opinion? Let me know. I'd like to know what you think. Down below, subscribe, please. This was interesting. Stop this.